all times. Wrestle Talk begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enjoy the ride.
What's up, Wrestle Talk fans and family? What is going on? Nightmare Jones here once again for another edition of the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Renee. I've got my beer ready. I've got my microphone going. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be an absolutely amazing night. We got the Hot Spot segment. We got the Shooting Shot segment. We got the Wrestle Talk podcast game show challenge. We got the Fantasy Wrestling segment. And that's not enough. We've got Muckety Muck joining us tonight, as well as John Blackheart and Attila Khan. All three of those gentlemen are going to be joining us tonight. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So what you do is grab whatever beverage you're drinking, whether it's water, beer, soda, tea, milk, orange juice, apple juice, grape juice, whatever that you're drinking, even if you're drinking Red Bull or a V8 juice. Just grab whatever that you're drinking and take a drink for the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Renee. I must say, these beer mugs that you can buy on the WrestleTalkPodcast.com are certified to make your beer taste that much better and that much colder, ladies and gentlemen. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring in the man that needs no introduction, the Night Owl.
¿Qué pasa, loyal members of the Wrestle Talk family? Welcome in to Wrestle Talk Podcast, episode 283. We're very happy to have you. Great rundown, Nightmare Jones. You're absolutely right, bro. Today's going to be a very special show because we're going to take one final look at the 2019 Midwest Independent Hall of Fame inductees. And tonight we're going to talk to two of them. You mentioned it, bro. John Blackheart and Attila Khan. Two guys who have made a reputation for themselves in this crazy sport of professional wrestling. And we want to go ahead and tip our cap to them. Because, brother, as we all know, last year was a rough year, losing so many legendary professional wrestlers. We're starting off 2020, maybe not losing the major, huge monster names right off the bat, but I think we can all tip our cap to Kobe Bryant and his family and show love, adoration, and respect to him, even though this is a professional wrestling podcast. And, it kind of really hit me, bro, with this situation, particularly because we need to do a better job, I think, as a society, but particularly here on the Wrestle Talk podcast, of giving people their props and their due before it's too late. So over these last couple of weeks, we've been spending time talking to some upcoming Hall of Fame inductees, and we want to continue to do that throughout 2020. Whether you're a young up-and-coming superstar, a young up-and-coming promoter, or if you're somebody that's been in the business for over 30 years, we want to make sure to invite you, an open invitation to come on the Wrestle Talk podcast so that we can give you your props and your respect. Because you know what? It's all well and good. But when you get that adulation, when you get that respect after the fact, I can't imagine it's quite as sweet. So again, guys, thank you for being here. We're going to go ahead and get right into today's show. But before we get into the high spot segment, all the other fun stuff that we're going to be doing today, I wanted to thank everybody who's already tuning in. A couple of quick shout outs. My man Todd, ¿Qué pasa? Money Mayo, thank you for being here. By the way, that's hashtag WrestleTalkCast. Just C-A-S-T, not podcast, but I love you either way. Herb Simmons is in the house, also a top fan. Shelly's back. Luchador's here. Mr. Mills is in the house. And I got about 5 other people that are watching that their messages are gone. and I can't scroll any further up. Oh, and Brian, what is going on, brother? Thank you for being here as well. Also, Jonesy, I got some huge news, brother. I was on the phone a little bit earlier with Scott Rathbum of Rathbum's Engraving. Anybody who is a Kansas City Chiefs fan, he is making custom engraved Patrick Mahomes artwork. One-of-a-kind pieces, okay? He's making them hand-stitched, just like you, not hand-stitched, hand-etched, kind of like you see on the beer mug. He's making some Patrick Mahomes ones. Anybody who's interested, let me know. You guys are going to get a 20% discount. I'm going to go ahead and post some pictures of that tomorrow on the Wrestle Talk Podcast fan page on Facebook. So if you guys are interested and you want to support one of our wonderful sponsors, hit me up. We'll hook you up with Rathbum's Engraving, because let me tell you, there's going to be a lot of t-shirts, a lot of ball caps being sold, but some of these pieces are handmade, and they're pretty much one of a kind. So if you want something to commemorate Kansas City Chiefs going into the Super Bowl this upcoming Sunday, hit me up and we will help you out. That said, the Conspiracy Farm, Everything Combat, it's me speaking to you. You know those guys. We love them, man. It's Jay Hollywood, Pat Milicic, UFC Hall of Famer. Those guys are long-term sponsors of the Wrestle Talk Podcast, and we love them. We also want to tip our cap to them. Esports, man, this past weekend, Jonesy, probably the most watch party, the most fun watch party that we've ever had over at Esports, man. We had one whole side of that building completely filled up. Everybody was just on fire, man. The energy in that building was absolutely incredible. And, man, I can't wait till we talk about Edge's return, because that gave me chills, dude. When you talk about close to 40 people losing their minds in the same place at the same time, it was just something that I'm never going to forget. And then two other quick things. We got so busy, bro. We got so busy partying. And, Jonesy, you've been a part of those watch parties yourself, dude. It just gets so crazy that sometimes we forget to give stuff away. So guess what, ladies and gentlemen? If you think you can get away with it, we would like to give you a pair of tickets to February 14th at KCXW Enchantment in the Ring. We give away one pair. Congratulations to Scotty and Abby for winning those. We have two more pairs to give away. Each ticket is valued at $15. You're going to get it absolutely free by supporting and sharing this broadcast on social media. If we saw that you shared, you could very well be winning a pair of tickets to KCXW Enchantment in the Ring, February 14th, at the Ararat Shrine Temple, which is legitimately less than a mile away from Arrowhead Stadium. And here's the one that a couple of people were upset about, and I apologize because things did get a little crazy. Our newest sponsors, as you guys know, is Kincaid, and they put together this amazing bundle of collectibles that we were going to give away that day, and we just did not get a chance. So let me show you guys, because I know I bragged about it. We have the, this is TriStar TNA Wrestling Knockout Divas action figure. Well, actually, I guess that didn't make sense, right? Because they're knockouts, not divas. But there's at least one guaranteed autograph in this box. I'm not sure what it's valued at, but I'm telling you right now, it's still in the plastic, and it's got to have some value, because some of these ladies have gone on and become major superstars in the world of professional wrestling. So this Best of WrestleMania 1 through 14 VHS. I know a lot of you guys probably are not sitting with VHS players at your house, but trust me, just having this thing is enough nostalgia. And if you're ever lucky enough to get your hands on a VHS player, man, nothing better than an original release from 1998. And as if that was not enough, I think this is kind of like the crown jewel of the giveaway. Thank you guys for the thumbs up. Thank you guys for sharing. Again, if you guys want an opportunity to win any of these prizes, all you got to do is share this broadcast. Last but not least, Jonesy, I have I believe this is Nikolai Volkov. I always confuse the Volkovs, but this is an LJN Titan Sports 1984 action figure. And it's crazy because just to think, man, like the action figures they make today are significantly smaller and they weigh a lot less. So when, professional wrestling companies started making toys or action figures, this is what they look like. This might have been like the first run of action figures for professional wrestling. I mean, I'm telling you guys, I'm looking at the back, Jonesy, and it says 1984, which is a long time ago because it's the same year that I was born. So it doesn't matter what part of the country you're in. I know the tickets for KCXW won't do nothing for you, but I mean, you can't beat this bundle, guys. I don't even know what the value of it is, but one of you guys is going to get lucky and win all 3 items at once. Again, share this broadcast, and we will announce the winner a little bit later on during today's show. All that said, guys, we're going to go ahead and carry on because we got a lot to talk about in the world of professional wrestling. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and ask everybody to please respectfully remove their caps, place your hands over your hearts as we pay homage to the greatest country on God's green earth, and that's America, damn it.
Oh, say, can you see? And the rock is
regular.
Uh-oh. I'll make up for it now. For the land of the free.
Land of the free.
By the way, I think we already, Jonesy, I think we already have a front runner, man, for the prize pack, bro. My man Todd is talking about he used to have that action figure back in the day, dude, and Hogan won every single time. Just like you were gonna say, brings a tear to my eye every single time. Gotta love it, bro. So I know we're gonna get into high spots, Jonesy, but there's anything else you wanted to hit before we kick this thing off?
Oh, just it's an amazing night tonight. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We got a lot to talk about. So, Timmy, if you could please hit that high spots drop for us one time, real quick. All right, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we have a lot to talk about. I'm guessing that the first thing we should talk about is WrestleMania. And if you watch WrestleMania, there was a single part of WrestleMania, especially during the women's match, that apparently rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And when Santina Marella showed up for the women's Royal Rumble match, there were a lot of people that were really upset that took the spot of another female wrestler that could have entered into the match. Myself, I thought that it was a great comedy spot, but I understand where they're coming from because there are so many female wrestlers that could have been in that Royal Rumble, and it was taken up by a guy that was dressed up as a...
that's a real tough one, Jonesy, and I know that the members of the Wrestle Talk family are going to have opinions on that. I know you guys are going to have opinions on everything else that happened over Royal Rumble weekend. Maybe some people even have thoughts on the recent news that Andrade Cien is going to be suspended for violating the wellness policy. It doesn't really matter what you guys want to talk about as long as it's pro wrestling. Hey, if y'all even want to chop it up about the XFL, which is right around the corner, we'd love to have that conversation with you. So if one of my friends on the live stream can do me a favor and type out this phone number, 657-383-1521. Again, that's 657-383-1521. We want to have you guys join us in conversation about anything you guys want to talk about in the world of pro wrestling, including this story about Santino Marella being inserted into the Women's Royal Rumble. Here's the first thing I'm going to say. Number one, it should have not come to a surprise to nobody. The WWE, in order to create a moment, they are willing to risk credibility. And here's another great example of that. Does anybody else remember the first ever women's Money in the Bank match? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you remember. Give me a thumbs up or a heart if you remember the first ever WWE women's ladder match. And if so, do you remember how that ended? Because a friend of yours, Jonesy, somebody you've actually worked with in the world of professional wrestling, had a lot to do with the outcome of the first ever women's Money in the Bank match. Do you remember what happened?
Yes.
Yes. Why don't you tell the fans?
Basically, James Ellsworth climbed up, took the belt down and dropped it off to Carmella, and Carmella ended up winning the Money in the Bank match.
Oh, man, Jonesy, bro, you got a great memory, bro. You absolutely nailed it. That is exactly what happened. So in that moment, WWE took a lot of heat for taking the spotlight away from the women to do what? To create a moment. A moment that they think will resonate with the fans more than just an old-fashioned clean finish. Was it the right move? Was it the wrong move? I don't know. I want to hear from the listeners. I want to hear from the members of the Wrestle Talk family. For me personally, I'll be honest, my knee-jerk reaction in that moment was not a positive one. Because I personally would have loved to see the return of Nia Jax at that spot. I personally actually even picked her to win the Women's Royal Rumble. So, does this moment resonate more with the fans than if Nia Jax had returned? I don't know, bro. I don't have a time machine. I don't have a way to look back and subjectively and say, yes, definitively, it would have been better if it was her. But in my heart of hearts, I feel like it took a little something away from what was supposed to be the co-main event of the night. So, personally, I was not a fan of it, but if people love the humor and all that stuff, I mean, we had 30, 40 people in the building over at Esports, and for the most part, everyone was loving it. They were laughing. Everyone was carrying on. So I guess for that reason, I don't have a huge problem with it. But again, the women are fighting for credibility. They're fighting for notoriety. They're fighting to be taken seriously. And when you insert shenanigans like this, as funny, as entertaining as they are, to me, it takes just a little bit away from what the women were out there trying to do. But those are just one man's thoughts. Jonesy, I'd love to hear what you think about it.
Yeah, I totally understand why that they did that, because there's a lot of people that remember the whole thing with Santina Morella, and it was basically done as a comedy spot, and I didn't really have too much of a issue with it. The thing I had an issue with was when Charlotte Flair won the Royal Rumble, because I didn't really want to see Charlotte Flair against Becky Lynch, and I don't want to totally move on to another subject. But apparently, it very well may not be Charlotte Flair against Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. There are reports that, since NXT is almost at the same level as the main roster now, what if we saw...
Whoa. See, here's when here's where you and me are going to have heat, Jonesy. What makes you believe, other than the talent in the ring, because I think the NXT talent is very comparable to the main roster talent, even though they're younger. Other than that, what makes you think that they're on the same level is definitely not viewership, bro. It ain't that. And I know that everyone's a little jaded by what happened at Survivor Series, but you to make the assertion that NXT is almost on the same level as SmackDown or Raw, you gotta be kidding me, bro. No way.
Dude, the NXT is more exciting than Monday Night Raw. It's more exciting than SmackDown. I'm more excited to watch NXT than I am anything else. I'm more excited about what's going on with NXT than I am with anything else. Why do you think that when NXT stars invaded SmackDown, it was such a big hit? Why do you think that when Survivor Series, NXT beat Raw and SmackDown, it was such a big hit? Because NXT, in my opinion, just my opinion, is better than the main roster in the WWE right now.
Jonesy,
that's just my opinion.
No, listen, and I'm not going to dispute that with you. I agree that the wrestling is more exciting, that it's more entertaining. But let me tell you something. If you take the new NXT champion, not women's champion, because remember, they don't want you to say that anymore. I guess it's wrong. I don't. Let's not get into that, okay? What's up? What up, Uncle Steve? Shout out to Philadelphia's very own Uncle Steve. Thank you for being here. Love you, boss. Listen, man. I think if that happened, if it was the NXT champion versus Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, your casual fan would watch her walk down the ring and go, who? Who is Charlotte Flair fighting? Bro, I'm not disputing that it's just as entertaining or the wrestling is just as good, but nobody knows who these people are. Bro, your common fan struggles to identify anybody outside of these three names. John Cena, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. In the men's division, casual fans struggle to be able to name anybody basically outside of the... Oh, and Brock Lesnar, I'm so sorry, which I know you're going to hate that, but it's true. So if they are going to do that, NXT has got a lot of work to do in 2 months. Because from a wrestling fan perspective, somebody who's knee deep in the game, so to speak, I'd love to see that. But you and I both know that WrestleMania is no different than the Super Bowl, Jonesy. It's about the casual fans and new eyeballs. And if you bring her in...
So what you're telling me...
Go ahead.
So what you're telling me is that you would rather see Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch for the 5,999th time. What does Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch bring to the table right now? They've already faced each other multiple times.
You know...
It doesn't excite anybody.
You know what it brings to the...
Bailey,
Jonesy, I'm not... You were making two separate arguments, dude. I agree with you. As a dedicated fan, I do not want to see that match again. But guess what? You know who's on the cereal boxes? You know who's on the cover of the video games? You know who's getting all the cricket commercials? Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. At WrestleMania, they don't really care about making sure that you leave satisfied. You know why? Because you can go on Twitter and you can go on Instagram and bitch and complain about it being Becky and Charlotte all over again. But guess what? On Monday, you're going to be right back watching the product. They don't care as much about you as you think. They want the new fan, people who casually happen to want to watch some wrestling, kind of on a Super Bowl type environment, because a lot of people who don't watch football will watch the Super Bowl because it's kind of a pop culture phenomena. The WrestleMania is no different. I'm not saying that that's what I want, Jonesy, but we got to be realistic about what the expectations of the fans are, and they're not going to give you the type of matches that you're going to get at like an NXT takeover at WrestleMania. It's all pageantry. It's all big names. That's why they bring people like Tyson Fury and Ronda Rousey. And Ronda Rousey's kind of an exception because she ended up being a pretty badass wrestler and had a great run. But let's just be real, bro. Is that what's going to make WWE the most money? Absolutely not. And as much as I'd love to see it, it's not going to happen. So it's a moot point. And oddly enough, as fired up as we both are, I completely agree with you, but that's not where the money's at, bro. The fans that are already invested are invested, and that's not what they're shooting for at something like a WrestleMania. They're trying to get the casual fans hooked, and how do they do that? They bring out the very biggest names possible. That's what they're trying to do, and it's unfortunate because, again, it's much like the Super Bowl. A lot of the tickets, a lot of the people in the house aren't your diehard Bills Mafia Chiefs Kingdom. No, the Hogs from the Redskins. These are not the people that are filling up the stadium down in Miami. No, it's corporate sponsors and rich people. That's who's at the game. And WrestleMania, that's who they're trying to compete with. Everybody needs to get away from this idea that WWE's competing with AEW. No. They're trying to compete with the MLB, the NBA, and the NFL. That's who they're trying to compete with. And if you're looking at it any other way, you got it sideways. Jonesy, that said, do we have time to get into any callers, man, or are we going to get into the next topic? Jonesy, brother, are you with me? All right, folks, well, it looks like Nightmare Jones is screening some callers. He's back. What's up, Jonesy?
We are working on callers. Definitely, if you want to call in 657-383-1521. There's a lot of things that we can talk about, and I actually have something that is pretty interesting that I wanted to talk about. I came across this earlier, and we were talking about WrestleMania. So if you can please hit that breaking news into me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. This is breaking news. The first major stop in the so-called Road to WrestleMania is tonight's Royal Rumble. And the aftermath of tonight's match will be examined in the WrestleMania pre-show scheduled to begin at 11 o'clock after the Royal Rumble. So, ladies and gentlemen,
What?
the thing is that the WrestleMania pre-show is going to start directly after the Royal Rumble, and the WrestleMania pre-show is going to start from now all the way up until WrestleMania.
So wait a minute. So you're telling me the pre-show starts right now? Like 2 months before the damn show? You know, based on how long the pre-show was for the Royal Rumble, I'm inclined to believe that that might be a real story, Nightmare Jones. Where did you get that information?
I did get that from Kayfabe News, but this brings a bigger topic. Okay, so we all know that WrestleMania last year was like, it seemed like it was forever. It was like, what, 5-6 hours?
Yeah.
Well, the WWE is trying to figure out the best route to do that, and I think that they may have came up with a good idea, because there are reports that they're thinking about making WrestleMania a 2-day event, kind of like what New Japan Pro Wrestling was. So therefore, you'll have, say 3 hours one day, and then the next day will be another 3 hours. I think that will be beneficial to the fans.
All right.
Because they won't have to sit in the arena for 5, 6, 7 hours. It'll be a 2-day event, and I think that it'll be beneficial to the WWE because that can get them, extra money. So, but of course there are some people that don't want to see that. They say it's not going to work. But it worked with New Japan Pro Wrestling, so why wouldn't it work with WrestleMania?
Well, the reason I don't think it would work with WrestleMania, Nightmare Jones, is number one, if you take that Saturday away, where does that leave NXT? Because typically,
in WWE either. Isn't that what you said?
What'd you say?
NXT isn't as big as the WWE main roster. Isn't that what you said? So therefore, there doesn't need to be an NXT on Saturday.
Whoa. Now you're misconstruing what I said. You're misconstruing what I said. See, that's the reason that I love NXT, because I think it's a great palate cleanse before you go into the 6-hour show. For those who want to see the great wrestling with incredible passion, new talent, the stuff that really makes us marks excited, the guys and girls that watch this thing every single day, every single week, NXT's there to ease the pain of what's coming the following day. Now, I don't want to make it seem like I hate WWE and oh my gosh. What I'm saying is it is a great alternative to the 6 hours that you have to sit through on a Sunday. That's exactly why you do need NXT. Because there are many who can't stomach 6 hours of the main roster. That's why you need it. I actually do not like the idea of them doing a 2-day deal. What I would like for them to do is, instead of doing a 2-hour pre-show, maybe just a 1-hour pre-show. Instead of trying to squeeze 2 matches into the pre-show, maybe just 1. I don't know. It's not that big of an issue, because you know what? When we do our events like we did at eSports this past Sunday, it actually works really well. Becomes kind of a half-day situation. But dude, if I'm talking about just sitting in my house from 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 10 o'clock at night, yeah, that can be extremely exhausting. But at the same time, Jonesy, you're talking to a guy who wakes up at 1:30 in the morning to watch New Japan Pro Wrestling pay-per-views. But I'm not your typical fan. You get what I'm saying? So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there is no space for NXT. What I thought was a little absurd was the idea that you were saying that they were kind of on the same level as SmackDown and Raw, and all you got to do is look at the ratings to verify that there's no truth to that. That's all I'm saying, Jonesy, so don't get me wrong. Indeed.
Well, that's you and I. But moving on, I'm guessing that it's about time for us to bring on our first guest of the night. Are you ready, sir?
Well, you know what?
Guest of the night.
We are going to bring in our first guest of the night, but I want to make sure that I give some shine to this conversation that's been going on during the broadcast. And we've got a couple of guys that are expressing some opinions. Let me see here. Okay, yeah, this is from our boy Jay Hollywood talking about the predictability of WWE and maybe why he doesn't watch, the full-length 6-hour show. It says, sad that even I know the outcome, I'd still rather watch World Class, Memphis, Mid-Atlantic, AWA, Georgia, Florida, SICW than that nonsense they have on right now. Okay? It says, hey, shout out to Rick Ruby. Finally, somebody noticed it. I was kind of waiting for somebody to say something at some point. So this is a full-length picture from corner to corner of downtown St. Louis, including the river, over on this side. And then right above me here is Kansas City. So thank you, Rick, for noticing that. That's a nice little detail. Sometimes you guys can see it, sometimes you can't. But I'm telling you, those pictures are awesome. If you guys ever get a chance to come in studio, you guys can check them out. You'll absolutely love them when you see them in person. Which, by the way, I can confirm that we're going to be speaking to Journey Pro / Anarchy's official, AK the Ref, on February 18th. So AK the Ref will be in studio February 18th at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. That is our next in-studio scheduled guest. I know you guys always love when we do the in-studio joints. So AK the Ref will be here in a couple of weeks. All that said, my friends. Oh, yeah, and JCP, which is Jim Crockett Productions. Sorry for skipping that one, Jay Hollywood. I had no idea what you were talking about. But here we go. Folks, ladies, germs, it is time for the moment that you guys have all been waiting for. This is a man who doesn't usually vocalize his feelings a whole lot, but this is a very, very special time because he is being inducted into the 2019 class for the Midwest Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame. This guy is actually trained one of my very, very good friends, been in the business for a very long time, and he is finally getting his due. We're giving him his flowers before it's too late. He's getting the recognition he so deserves. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a pleasure to welcome in our first guest of the evening, the one, the only, John Blackheart.
What's going on, Mr. Blackheart? How you doing? Good. How about
How are
yourself?
you?
Man.
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, we've got John Blackheart on the podcast. It's doing amazing.
Yeah, I'm just getting old. That's about it.
Why don't you go ahead and lead us off, Jonesy?
Absolutely. No problem whatsoever. I mean, you have wrestled so many people in your career. You know, from Danny Boy to the Rock and Roll Kid to Chaz Wrestling to Keith Smith to the huge Wrecking Ball Pete Madden to the Jim Ford. I mean, who would you say has been your toughest competitor?
Toughest competitor, huh? Probably Keith Smith. Must have wrestled him, I don't know how many times. And every time, it was rougher than the last time. We've done matches that were hour long.
Wow. It's really, really tough to be able to, wrestle, somebody for an hour. So, that's absolutely amazing. You also won, championships. You won the NMWA championship with Billy Diamond. What was it like tag teaming with Billy Diamond?
Well, Billy was all right, but I won the titles with, I won them with Billy Blunt.
Oh. Okay.
Billy Diamond. Well, I trained Billy Diamond, and trained a lot of guys. I tried to teach them what I could teach them.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I brought Billy Blunt into the business, and eventually ended up tag teaming with him, and we worked out pretty good. I snaked him a few times too, so I was not always the nicest guy. I'm the kind of guy that would love you one day, and then tomorrow, we take it one day at a time. I either like you today or not tomorrow, or maybe I like you tomorrow, not today.
Huh.
I was good at snaking people.
Yeah, that's just part of the game. And I guess in my last question before I throw it to my co-host Renee, because I know that he's been chopping at the a bit, is you weren't just a wrestler, but you also were a trainer. What made you want to go from wrestling to actually training people on how to wrestle?
Well, I was actually training guys while I was wrestling.
Yeah.
I wanted to see the guys be able to walk into a ring and do a match without getting themselves hurt. Mm-hmm. Have the basic knowledge of what to be able to do, and just be safe about what they're doing. And I always wanted them to know the basics, because with the basics, you can wrestle anybody. I mean, not everybody wrestles the same. You got your high flyers, and then you got your brawlers and your big guys. Well, without basics, you can't. You're a high flyer. You can't walk in that ring with a big guy and expect to just, go toe to toe with him without knowing some basic moves. So I used to beat them to death with the basics.
Yeah,
I was known for that.
Yeah, that's really what you gotta do. You gotta beat the basics into it. Being a pro wrestling referee, it's you see guys getting trained all of the time, and every trainer wants the same thing. They just want their guys to be able to go into the ring and be able to put on the best wrestling match that they possibly can without injuring anybody in the process.
Yeah, and also without those basics, you're not going to do a long match. That was what enabled me to do those hour-long matches with Keith Smith and Rock and Roll Kid, guys like that. If I wouldn't have had no basic training of the art, you're just going to lose yourself. You'll be burnt out after 10 minutes. You're done. So you got to know how to pace yourself and use those basics to slow that match down.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I've seen matches where the wrestlers weren't really trained that well, and they couldn't even do a hip toss. It's kind of that's training. One of the most important things. I don't want to take up too much time, so Renee, why don't you come in here with whatever questions that you have?
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I'm really excited to get a chance to talk to John. You actually trained a couple of friends of mine, including a kid they used to know as the Disco Kid, Luke Roberts, and I'll ask you about him in just a couple of moments, because he himself has built quite a little legacy for himself in the Midwest. But the first question I wanted to ask you is, how surreal is it for you, John, when you remember facing Keith Smith Sr., but then you go to an SICW show or wherever you go, and then you see Keith Smith Jr., and he's like a spitting image of his dad, just maybe a little bit bigger, right? How surreal is it to you to be able to reminisce about the matches you were having when you were his age, and probably remembering him following his dad around backstage, and now you see him and he's kicking ass all over the place, man? How awesome is that for you?
That's good. It's good to see. And to give you a little bit farther back, I wrestled his grandfather, Ed Smith.
Oh, you wrestled Ed Smith as well? That is incredible.
Yeah. Let me tell you, you have never been chopped in the chest until you've been chopped by Ed Smith. That man had the hardest chop I ever felt.
Hey, that's saying something, man. Over 20 plus years, you must have been chopped a whole lot. If you don't mind, I want to go down memory lane even a little bit more. So over your career, which obviously you're being recognized for now as a 2019 inductee into the Midwest Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, Independent Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, are there any other people that the listeners of the Wrestle Talk podcast might recognize that you had a chance to be in the ring with, or maybe even share a locker room with over the last 20 some odd years, that maybe you even caught yourself like, whoa, I can't believe I'm wrestling this guy, or whoa, I can't believe I'm sitting in the same locker room as that guy? Is there any names that come to mind, and maybe is there a story you would be willing to share with us?
Yeah, I've had matches with Giant Assassin, Ron Powers, like you said, Danny Boy. I've worked with Bob Orton. I've worked with on shows for Harley Race. With they've had the Sheik, Bob Backlund.
Wow.
I mean, quite a few guys I've worked around. It's I mean, you get to a point where they all start running together, you know. So many memories. You just start forgetting who all's who. But you do remember the guys that you worked with the most. I miss them. I really do. It was some really good times. I mean, I enjoyed everything we did. And there's times you had to, you know, we were carrying the show for certain organizations because they didn't have enough guys. I mean, we were working some long matches, like I said. Me and Keith used to work them mile-long matches just to fill a card. And then at the end of that, we'd go to a draw on some, and Keith was always the guy that had to go, yeah, give us 5 more minutes. You know? And it's like, I'm giving him that look, they're like, are you serious? 5 more minutes. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun and over them years. I miss it.
I'm curious because you are being inducted with a lot of pretty incredible guys. We've talked to Herb. We're talking to Attila later tonight. We've talked to Al Stevens and Chico is Loco. I'm curious, man, and I'm asking everyone the same question. Have you started working on your induction speech? And if so, has it been difficult for you? Because you gotta summarize, you know, close to a 20-year career in however long, a half hour, however long they give you. I mean, it's got to be pretty difficult to summarize it all in one speech, man. Have you started working on it? And if so, how's it going?
Yeah, just kind of going through my own mind over the memories of guys that I was grateful to work with, the guys I started with. You know, there's a lot there to try to remember. It's so long ago now that, you know, you start forgetting everything. But you do remember the good times.
Oh man, that's so fantastic that the Midwest Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame is doing that for you guys, and I tell you what, every single person on that list is extremely deserving of it. I know there's been some question as to you know, why other people haven't been inducted yet, and I know we had the opportunity to talk to Chico, and we had the opportunity to talk to Herb and Al and some of the other guys. And it's a very difficult selection process. I personally, John, I do not envy the people responsible for having to decide who's going to go in. because there's so many names in this area that I think deserve recognition. Out of curiosity, is there anybody who has not yet been inducted that you'd like to throw their name out there? Somebody that you worked with over, sometime over that span that you were active as a competitor, that you feel like, hey, you know what? I think this guy should get a second look because it was somebody that you personally enjoyed working with.
Well, there would have to be guys like Ron Powers and Giant Assassin. The guy could put on a heck of a show. So could Ron. Ron was a great guy to work with. The big guys, but he was fun to work.
Man, that is awesome. And you, instead of making it all about yourself, taking this opportunity to highlight somebody else, man, that's awesome. That's exactly what I wanted. I also wanted to ask you, and I know we discussed him just a few moments ago, but back in October, you were announced to be one of the newest inductees, along with Al Stevens, and the person doing the induction, or at least making the announcement, was Keith Smith Sr. I want to know, I know you were in the house that night, what did that mean to you to be able to do that in front of all the fans and to get the announcement made in public that you were going to go into the Hall of Fame, man? What did that mean to you?
It meant a lot. It surprised me. I wasn't expecting it. I was, speechless, honestly. I was really honored. It's a big honor to be thought of that way by your peers, that, the people that make that decision would think that much of you to want to induct you into a Hall of Fame for the things that you've done over your career. And I was really honored to have that happen to me. It was a real surprise.
Man, oh man, yeah, and I'm kind of watching back it silently here in front of me, my monitor. I could see you're kind of emotional and maybe a little bit kind of overwhelmed by it, and I don't blame you for that, man. I'm sure it kind of took you back to your time inside the ring, and which kind of brings me to my last question before I throw it back to Joe. John, I know this is very, very difficult to reminisce about, but what of everything do you miss the most about being an active competitor in the world of professional wrestling? I know it's been a little while since you've stepped in and been able to actually compete. What part of it do you miss the most, man?
You want to know the truth? The camaraderie in the locker room with the guys. The closeness you can get. Just being around these guys that, and working the different guys that you work is really an honor to work some of them, and then to bring some of the younger guys that were really, had no experience in the ring, and take them in there and take them through their first match or whatever you had to do to get them through it. It was like really the biggest part I missed, working with these guys and seeing their eyes in their first match. It was just, it's one of those things that's hard to describe unless you're actually in there.
Man, absolutely. I appreciate you sharing that. Appreciate you sharing that with us, man. I can tell this is such a big deal for you, man. I'm actually getting a little emotional. I know it's such an important thing to be recognized by your peers, and I'm sure it must feel incredible. Jonesy, I want you to pop back in here because I know we got to get into shoot and shout here in a few minutes. But listen, bro, I know you might have some other questions or comments, so why don't you go ahead and do your thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I was doing my research on you, I see that you are a 6-time MMWA Junior Heavyweight Champion. What does it feel like to say that you won that championship 6 times?
It's a good feeling. And heavyweight champion, I think I was maybe 4 or 5 times heavyweight champion. It's, it's a good feeling. I've won a lot of titles in my time.
Absolutely. Okay, so you've won a lot of titles, in your time, what title would you say meant the most to you? I know it's a tough question.
The heavyweight title. When I won the heavyweight title, that just meant the most to me. It just meant that I was doing my job right. I was at that time at the best of my game that I could be, and apparently showing it. And it was a good feeling.
Absolutely.
One of those things when you walk in that ring and you won that title. It's one of those things that don't hit you at first, and then all of a sudden you realize, yeah, I just took the title, and it's a really good feeling. You hear the crowd go off.
Absolutely. I go ahead.
Yeah, it's an exciting thing.
Mm-hmm.
One of those things I wish, I hope that almost every wrestler gets a chance to feel that, because that's a feeling that you never forget.
Yeah, absolutely. The winning the heavyweight championship is probably one of the biggest thing on everybody's bucket list, and to be able to say that you've won it, so many times is absolutely amazing. And my last question before I throw it back to Renee, see if he has any final questions. So you were a part of the Mid-Missouri Wrestling Alliance. What was it like wrestling for the MMWA?
It wasn't bad. It was good to wrestle for them. Back when I was wrestling, both the MMWA and the SICW were tied together.
Mm-hmm.
So I was holding both organizations' titles at the time. So I was the MMWA SICW champion. So now I know them two organizations have split, and each have their own champion. And I remember when I had to give it up because of injury. I had to walk away. And I was always sad that when I lost the title, I didn't lose it to a competitor. I had to forfeit it, and I never ever wanted to go out that way. That was never the way to lose it. You always want to see someone else step in and take your title, not just have to give it up. And that's the one thing, if I could go back and do again, I would. I would make sure that somebody took it from me.
Well, speaking of missed opportunities, intern Timmy's just informed me that we have a very special caller. And you guys know we don't like to take callers during these interviews because me and Joe we're very selfish. We like to talk to these guys because we do our homework. We do everything we're supposed to do to make sure that we're prepared. And I get nervous a little bit handing it over to the callers, but I think this will be a little bit different. So intern Timmy, why don't you go ahead and screen and verify, because if it is who I think it is, I think you're really going to enjoy this, Mr. Blackheart. As we work that out for you, I had one final question, me personally, Renee the Night Owl. So in your years of training up all these different superstars, these young up-and-coming talents, one day a young kid by the name of Luke Roberts walked into your gym. And he became known as the Disco Kid, and now he's part of the reason the Wrestle Talk podcast is as successful it is. Any words you could share? Because he's told us all kinds of crazy stories about his abilities in the ring and this, that, and the other kind of thing. And I'm always like, yeah, right, bro. Yeah, right. But, it's all in fun and games. But is there anything, either negative or positive, he's a big boy, he's going to have to take it either way, that you could say about our dear, dear friend Luke Roberts?
Luke was a go-getter. I'll tell you, he was a ball of energy. He he would do what you asked him to do, and then he'd give it a little more. He was one of those guys that was hungry to learn, and he wanted to learn more. And no matter what you taught him, he was ready to learn even more. But he was a good competitor, good wrestler.
Wow, what an amazing compliment, man. I'm sure he's going to hear that, and he's going to be head over heels. Well, guess what? We're not going to let you go before we give you this little surprise. We've mentioned him a couple of times during this interview, but there's a very, very special caller who decided to call in on this special night and say some kind words to you and about you. And who knows, considering who it is, he might actually even talk a little trash. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the very few true legends of Midwest Pro Wrestling, the one, the only, Killer Keith Smith.
Hey everybody, it's great to be a part of this podcast. Renee, I greatly appreciate it. When you sent me that message, I was like, I got a call. This gentleman, when I first met him, he used to be a boxer. I don't know if he told you any of that, but he used to be a boxer. But he turned out to be one of the best, kind-hearted human beings, not only in the ring, but outside of the ring. He was also one heck of a competitor that, bar none, he's probably in the top 5 guys here in the Midwest, especially 20 years ago.
Man, oh man, and let me say this just quickly, and thank you, Keith, for making time for us. I know that this was going to mean a lot to you, but I'm sure it means a lot to John as well. John, man, how cool is it to hear your old buddy Keith Smith call in and we've been talking about this since the beginning of the show. We want to make sure we give people their flowers while they're still here to smell them. As you guys know, we lost a huge superstar over the weekend. 2019 was a rough year for wrestling fans and losing legends. So we're going to make sure we do everything we can to make sure that we give praise where it's due before it's too late. How excited does it make you to hear from your friend Keith Smith?
It feels good. Keith was a great friend during the time I was wrestling. I wasn't quite sure when you said it was Keith Smith. I thought maybe he wanted 5 more minutes in the ring again.
I'd pay to see that.
Talking about that, but I'll tell you what: if you weren't running around with a cane right now, that would be happening.
Hey, if Terry Funk can do it, then John Blackheart can do it. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, there ain't a place we went that we didn't manage to sell out everywhere, because people love to see me beat up on him and him beat up on me. So in this business, we were doing exactly our job.
Yeah, I think we wrestled each other for a year straight. Felt like it.
Yeah, you're right. A year straight, but I'll tell you what, you deserve going into this Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame. This upcoming weekend is going to be a blast.
It absolutely.
I'm honored, Keith, and you know that.
Oh, I know you are. You're a very humble gentleman. I mean, these guys only hear you on the podcast, but, I grew up with you. And I've known you for 30 years now. So just like the next gentleman that's coming on behind you, I have been in dealings with him for over 30 years as well. So, you guys both deserve this. This has been a hard road, and finally, you guys are getting the recognition you guys deserve. And because of all the hard work you put in, not only with training young kids that were coming into this business, but, I mean, you brought them full circle. I mean, some of these kids were kids that had no path, no future, no nothing. And you guys have made a difference in their lives.
Yeah. It's humbling. I never expected it. And you know me, Keith, I've never done any of this for this reason. I was always part of the show. Whatever we did for the show because it was best for the show.
So awesome.
You know,
And best for business.
That's how we came up.
That's right.
The show comes first, and you put that ego of yours in the back.
That's right.
What was best for that show?
And gentlemen, that's exactly.
I tell you.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, Renee. You know, in the classes in the upcoming future, this selection that we go through during this Hall of Fame stuff to select these guys, it all starts with about 10 names for each of the Hall of Famers that are existing there, and then kind of gets dwindled down to like 10 names, and then 5 names. And those 5 names that you see in front of you are awesome names that are being presented this upcoming weekend. You know, John Blackheart, the drill instructor, us Chico's local, even Al, Rockin' Al. You know, so I mean, with that being said, these guys have all earned their spot to be a part of this Hall of Fame because of what they've done in this business.
No doubt about it. Well, Keith, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Any final words for the fans? Maybe encouraging them to make sure that they grab their tickets or make sure that they're there early, because this Hall of Fame induction, it may be just the most kind of the most anticipated of all time. So I know it's a really, really huge deal, especially with some of the names that are going in. And do you have any final thoughts to encourage the fans to make their way out there, or maybe even some final thoughts for your old buddy John Blackheart?
Only one thought I have for my old buddy John Blackheart, and he knows it. Brother, I love you. Thank you for everything you've done in this business.
You know, the feeling's mutual, Keith. You know, I love you like a brother, man. We've gone through some good times and bad times when we've wrestled. We always seem to come through it somehow. Made the best of it.
Just an absolutely incredible moment. And I know, Keith, I know you can still hear me, man. Thank you so much for coming on short notice. You know, you talk about a run-in that's going to stick with the fans for a long time. I think this is one of them. What do you think, Jonesy?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I could not agree more so. This has been an absolute amazing interview.
It has indeed. We're going to forego shoot and shout tonight, guys, out of the respect of time. But, John, you know, this upcoming Saturday, you're going to get what you rightfully deserve. And usually in the pro wrestling, that means some sort of ass whipping. But no, not this time, man. This time, you're going to receive the praise and respect that you deserve. That's at the Tri-County Community Center, 800 West Union Street in Pacific, Missouri. Guys, go and like the Midwest Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame. The page only has 550 likes, and when I saw that, I was shocked and I was disturbed. I want every member of the Wrestle Talk family during the break to go over to Facebook and give them a like so you don't miss the opportunity, your opportunity to see these legends of the sport go into the Hall of Fame. One more time, it's Chico Es Loco, Al Stevens, Johnny Ramirez, Herb Simmons, Attila Khan, and the one and only John Blackheart. John, thank you so much for being here tonight. Nothing but respect. Please promise us that this is just part 1 of your visitation right here to the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Renee.
Yeah. Love talking to you guys again. It was an honor. Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you, sir.
And by the way, welcome as the newest member of the Wrestle Talk family. And this is how legit this ceremony is going to be on February 1st, Nightmare Jones. Doors open at 4. Ceremony starts at 6. And you go, why are there 2 hours in between the door opening and the ceremony? You know why? Because at 5 o'clock, there's a potluck dinner. Bro, can you imagine the kind of grub they're going to have? Oh my gosh, I almost want to drive out there. It's going to be absolutely incredible. John, Keith, thank you guys so much. We appreciate and love you guys. Thank you for your contributions to the pro wrestling world so far. Can't wait to see what you guys do in the future. John, any final thoughts for the fans?
Get out there, watch wrestling, and enjoy it. That's all I can tell you, man. These shows are worth going to see because these guys put their heart into it.
Wow. Thank you very much, John. We appreciate you, and you have yourself a good night, all right?
You too, sir. Have a good one.
Grace and peace, brother. Adios.
Man.
Bro, I got it's been an emotional week, man. It's been crazy, man. It's been crazy. I don't even know what to say when we have out of the random somebody like Killer Keith Smith Sr. come on and join us on the show to kind of play second fiddle to John Black. I mean, I don't even know how to put that into words. Thank you so much, Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame, for what you guys do. We love you so much. We hope every year we get to kind of run this gauntlet again, talking to the inductees, because, man, this has been an absolute blast. Nightmare Jones, I know you're learning so much every single time that we do these shows about independent pro wrestling in the Midwest. I know you got a bunch of great wrestling out in West Virginia, the Maryland area. You guys are really spoiled out there. But you can see, man, this area is really growing some wings and taking off. I think we're starting to get the recognition that we deserve here in the Midwest, and I'm glad that you're helping play a part in that, Jonesy. I really appreciate you as well.
Oh, well, I appreciate you too, sir. We got to get you out here to see a couple wrestling shows.
Yeah, maybe that could be fun. Some Eclipse, some ATCW, maybe some Maryland Championship Wrestling. Who knows? Maybe we'll even make it out to a Ring of Honor show. Who knows? You know what we will do, though, guys? We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to come back with our second featured guest of the evening, Muckety Muck. Oh, I can't wait to tell you guys all about Muckety Muck. It's going to be fan-freaking-tastic. And by the way, Jonesy, do we have the Vinsanity song ready to go today?
Yes, we have it ready to go.
Yes. Okay. So, okay, go ahead. Were you going to say something else?
No.
Okay. It's ready. Good. It's ready. So, last week, we promised to play for you guys a brand new song from our friend Vinsanity, who plays the character of El Diablo in the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion. We played it. The quality was kind of crappy. I take responsibility for that. I kind of threw that out there last second. It was kind of hard to put it all together. But this week, the right man got on the job. Nightmare Jones got on it, got the full song for you guys. We're going to hit it, and then we're going to come back with our second featured interview of the evening, man. Muckety Muck is going to be off the chain. You talk about roller derby, you talk about pro wrestling. This guy knows it all. We'll see you guys in 2 minutes and 20 seconds for the rest of episode 280 of the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Renee.
Hold up. Where we at?
ADAX Entertainment.
Hit me on my line.
Blowing up the spot cause I'm hot, so watch out for the debris.
Hit me on my line.
Yeah, they steady hating. If I wasn't me, then that's how I would be.
Hit me on my line.
Baby, if I keep smashing, you gon' want me stay, you not gon' let me leave.
Hit me on my line.
They know I'm the man, cause I always got a plan right up my sleeve.
Holla at you, boy. Baby, holla at you, boy. Holla at you, boy. Niggas talking loud, tell them I got all the noise. I got all the noise. Why you acting noise? You a snitch, nigga. That's the shit that I avoid. Yeah, drinking, feeling hella nauseous. It's so busy from the back, she damn near lost her conscience. She astonished, I be on that fucking nonsense. And them hoes put her bars like a fucking convict. Yo, shoot her in the caddy, now she call me daddy. Who holding the city, pop that shit like candy. Brody, I'm a savage, like my name was Randy. Dudes, know me on this record, they can't fucking stand me. These niggas my haters, these niggas my haters. I'm counting the papers, just sticking the layers. Motherfuckers, the laser get hit with the sprayer. They don't want smoke, they be blowing up, they be on my line.
Blowing up the spot cause I'm hot, so watch out for the debris.
Hit me on my line.
Yeah, they steady hating. If I wasn't me, then that's how I would be.
Hit me on my line.
Baby, if I keep smashing, you gon' want me stay, you not gon' let me leave.
Hit me on my line.
They know I'm the man, cause I always got a plan right up my sleeve.
Hit me on my line.
She know that I'm educators falling off this tragic, pulling rods like Roger Rabbit. They said I couldn't hack it, then I went hopped out in traffic. Now I'm first place on the bracket. I just pulled me a Jessica. I think she from Mexico. I don't fuck with regular. I'm about to make a statement that the section off the pavement. If you want me, don't forget the payment. Yeah, I think I'm feeling myself. Now wait, that shawty's hands are on me. Now she feeling my belt. Oh, nah. I played the hand I was dealt. I'd rather do this shit myself. You won't be asking for help. Fingers looking good like a spicy chicken strip. I'm not throwing ones, but she still wanna strip. She thinks I'm a dog, but she on me like a dick. She knows that I'm much more than a bag of chips. Blowing up the spot, cause I'm hot, so watch out for the debris.
Hit me on my line.
Yeah, they said.
Yo, what up? Night Out. Nightmare Jones. What up, Wrestle Talk fam? Do it for y'all. Check me out. Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. Even them haters can't hate us no more. So unlock your door, cause we got some more. Every Wednesday we here, keeping it raw. Night Out, Nightmare Jones, and all the best guests. Like a double barrel pointed right at your chest. Wrestle Talk Podcast.com. Smashing and killing it like a night at a prom.
Man, nothing like some good jams to bring us into the second hour. Guys, I do want to say that if you are a member of the FWWC, which happens to be on break right now, I know we had kind of a tragic situation that took place earlier today. There was some video documentation that was released. If you guys want to come on and talk about it, you're more than welcome to, okay? We're going to bring you guys on here in about 5-10 minutes. Because we are going to spend about 5 or 10 minutes talking to Muckety Muck. So you guys hang in there, but we are going to make a couple of minutes if the members of the FWWC want to call in, talk about that or anything that might have happened at FWWC Royal Rumble. That said, Jonesy, I think it is time for our second featured guest of the evening, man, and I am incredibly excited. And I know we got somebody on hold, so hang in there. Promise we're going to get to you because we got to bring Muckety on, man. Jonesy, why don't you do me the honor, do us the favor, and introduce our next guest.
Absolutely. There's no problem whatsoever. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be bringing on a guy by the name of Muckety Muck. He's going to be talking about arch rival roller derby and the upcoming Jams and Slams event held in cooperation with Dynamo Pro. So they're working together with Dynamo Pro. I mean, what is better than having roller derby and professional wrestling? They kind of go hand in hand together. There is a roller derby rink about 20, 30 miles away from where I live. I've never gone to see roller derby. So one day I'm going to go and watch a roller derby because I've never seen it live. So ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Mr. Muckety Muck. What's going on, Mr. Muckety Muck?
How about that? I got my own entrance music. How about them apples right there? I tell you what, that's Machine Gun Kelly from St. Louis. That's the old GCW Gateway Championship Wrestling theme from back in the early 2000s. And that brings a tear to my eye because I used to be an announcer for the television side of Gateway Championship Wrestling. And before I start, I want to jump in on the John Blackheart bandwagon right now. I've seen some of the matches that he was referring to earlier in the evening with Cowboy Bob Orton Jr. and with Ron Powers. And yes, it's true. Anybody that kind of broke out into the business in the St. Louis area in the 1990s owes a debt of gratitude to John Blackheart, a first-class act. And I'm I'm especially happy to see him go in as well because I didn't know the man personally, but I knew of his work in the ring, and I heard nothing but great stories about the opportunities and how he taught others, and not only showing them how it's done, but how it's done right. Fellows such as Ben Oliver and the Human Wrecking Ball, Pete Madden, and so many others, and nothing but kind things to say about John Blackheart. So that was great that he's going into that Hall of Fame, and I'm never going to get in the way of a run-in by Killer Keith Smith, my friends. I mean, this is an individual who took a steel chair to my ribs on television back in around 2003, and ever since then I was like, hey, I know you're an old bad apple, but I'm not going to spoil it, and I'm going to stay out of your way. But yeah, but thanks for having me on, guys. It's going to be great to be talking a few minutes about, yes, a big event that's coming up. First time ever in the city of St. Louis where on the same night, in the same building, under the same roof, both professional wrestling and roller derby will be featured in one evening. And, of course, that's the Jams and Slams event that's coming up Saturday night, 6:30 at Midwest Sport Hockey in beautiful Queenie Park in Baldwin, Missouri. That's a suburb of St. Louis, being presented by Arch Rival Roller Derby and being co-promoted by Dynamo Pro Wrestling. I tell you what, we have been looking forward to this ever since we started our season. Myself and the owners of Dynamo Pro Wrestling go back to almost 2 decades. And when we wanted to put together the first ever time when pro wrestling and roller derby was going to be held under the same roof, I couldn't think of anybody more deserving and more. I couldn't think of a better person to want to host the event with than the owners of Dynamo Pro Wrestling. So I know that we're really super jazzed about it. And hey, let's talk about what's going on during the course of the evening, because we've got 4 big matches, a little bit of rivalries going on. We've got some title matches going on, and also, of course, big-time implications in our one featured roller derby game that's coming up that night as well.
Well, let's talk about it, because let me tell you something. As a guy who's actually traveled out to St. Louis specifically for the purpose of going to a Dynamo Pro show, I can tell you I'm a tremendous fan, and I know the listeners of the Wrestle Talk podcast are as well. I know that there's some heat with Adrian Surge, Camaro Jackson. I know there's some talent on that roster that's looking to make a statement. How excited are you to know that you're getting not just a couple of guys from Dynamo Pro, but we're talking about guys that are champions, okay? People that are setting the standard, kind of raising the bar to another level within Dynamo Pro Wrestling. How excited is that for you?
Yeah, you're talking.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm extremely excited. Extremely excited, and we're talking about a bragging rights matchup between the Dynamo Pro Wrestling heavyweight champion Adrian Surge and the DPW D1 champion Camaro Jackson. Champion versus champion, even though neither title is on the line, there's bragging rights involved. And think of it this way. There's a lot to be gained by whoever wins this matchup. Let's say if you're Adrian Surge and you beat Jax that night, you are showing to everybody why you are the very best in DPW. Conversely, if Camaro Jackson wins, don't you think that he automatically becomes the number one contender for that heavyweight strap? And it also puts a marked target on the back of Adrian Surge going, oh no, I've got somebody really breathing down my neck. So now you know that there's got to be an immediate championship match signed up between those two. So yeah, that bragging rights matchup, whoever gains the victory, great, but I think the implications are huge to whoever loses. So I think that's going to be obviously a very interesting matchup to watch. And, of course, in the main event we got that night, of course, a rematch of a battle that happened in St. Louis earlier this month where we got ourselves the DPW Women's Champion, Reign Victoria, the Empress of Evil, defending her title against the Barbie Killer, Haley Shadows. And they had a huge tussle. I mean, a big-time battle earlier this month at Turner's Hall in St. Louis. And Shadows had a really good performance for herself. She's not been in the business that long and really dominated a good stretch of that matchup, but it was just that one slip and error, that error in judgment, that enabled Reign Victoria to come out of nowhere, snatch a victory, and retain the title. And you think about Reign Victoria, who has been the dominant player in women's wrestling in the St. Louis area the last 18 months. You know, has really come and shown why, not only why she is the champion, but how she's going to remain champion. Because she's vicious, she's evil, she's got the moveset, she has the veteran leadership.
Whoa! Let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there, because now we're going to disagree, and I'm sure you'll appreciate this. There's a young lady that also may have a rightful claim to that title that you just gave to Reign Victoria, and her name is Savannah Stone. And I know she's not involved in this particular event, but let's not discount her so quickly, because let me tell you, the girl is nasty and she's capable, just as capable as Reign Victoria. Do you have any thoughts, or have you had the opportunity to see Savannah Stone in action in the past?
In doing a little bit of research, I have looked at some past matches between Reign Victoria and Savannah Stone, and I would have to agree. Now, wouldn't you think that, let's say if there is a title switch this weekend and Haley Shadows becomes the new EPW Women's Heavyweight Champion, that you automatically not only have a number one contender in a rematch from Reign Victoria, but a number two, if not possibly number one contender in Savannah Stone as well?
See, now you're speaking my language. I absolutely agree with that. And you know what? When you start throwing praise around, it can be easy to do because there is so much incredible talent. But you got to understand, too, that to get to the very top is extremely difficult. So I have no problem with you giving her the praise that she rightfully deserves. Now, before I throw it over to my partner in crime here, Nightmare Jones, I did have a quick question for you. You arcing back to the old Gateway Championship Wrestling days, and because I am a bit of an old school fan, I have to ask, how did you originally become involved in this crazy world of professional wrestling?
Okay, I'm going to date myself a little bit.
That's all right. We don't mind. We won't judge.
Actually, that's fine. My first involvement in professional wrestling was actually my first internal involvement in professional wrestling was as a producer and director of cable access television back in the early 1990s for what was then known as Charter Communications. Well, it was still known as Charter Communications. Crown Cable, really, is, if you want to look at the original origins of it. And there was a weekly professional wrestling program on there that was called Dr. X's Wrestling Royale. And I was kind of in charge of kind of putting some of the matches together and lining up some of the international federations that would be a part of it. We had the USWA. We had also the matches down at South Broadway Athletic Club and other regional territories. And what we did was put together a weekly 1-hour program and would ship it out to various cable distribution outlets around the bi-state area. So that was my first involvement with it. Took a little bit of a break from it for a while, and then as my association with that show, I actually got to know a bunch of professional wrestlers personally. And when Gateway Championship Wrestling first started becoming an entity in 2000, I believe, they were looking to start their own cable access television program. So they thought, well, might as well know a guy who knows how to shoot and edit. And so they gave me a holler, and I came on board and got on with them from the ground up. So I was with them for about 4 years. We got to see the progression of some talents that are still active in the business today, folks such as Matt Seidel, also Delirious, Mischief, Daisy Hayes, some names that, was kind of coming through the ranks of Ring of Honor in their early stages. So, it was a fun time being a part of that group. We had fun times putting together a half-hour television program that aired weekly. I think in the very end we had somewhere around 190 episodes that we had created. I still have every single one of those doggone things somewhere on DVD in here. So, yeah, quite the treasure trove of footage that we got.
Oh, man, that's fantastic, dude. That's exactly the stuff that we love to hear about. And I'm getting DMs after DM after DM about what a fantastic show this has been so far. And it's hard to kind of go up after you talk to John Blackheart and Keith Smith. But let me tell you, you bring such a great energy. I know that you've done some lead announcing over at Arch Rival Roller Derby. And I can totally understand why you're excited to be doing business with Dynamo Pro, because they truly are class acts, top to bottom. But I don't want to be selfish. Nightmare Jones, why don't you jump in here, man? Do you got any questions for Muckety Muck, a.k.a. our buddy Brian Ledford?
Absolutely. And this isn't even pro wrestling related, but you are the announcer for Arch Rival Roller Derby out of St. Louis, Missouri. How did you get into the world of roller derby?
I want to hear this. I really do.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels between roller derby and professional wrestling, and I'll kind of explain a brief history of both, especially in the St. Louis area as I go along. But I did not stumble into roller derby like when it was first starting out. My first exposure to it was at around 2008 when roller derby started having a resurgence thanks to the movie Whip It. Maybe some of your listeners remember that movie with Drew Barrymore.
I was born in 1984, so yes, I do remember it.
Fair enough.
I do.
So I never want to make assumptions.
All right.
I got into the sport late, so. But back at around that time, I had a friend that was an announcer, that was calling the roller derby matches. He and I were actually coworkers, and I would be, going along just as a friend, a tailgater. I would drink beer and tailgate out in the parking lot. And one night, one of their announcers couldn't make it anymore, and my friend, who was the announcer, said to me, "Hey, would you like to announce this roller derby? You've been to enough matches. Would you like to be a part of the group to call tonight?" And I was like, "I don't know. Do you really want me to be a part of this group? I don't really have a background in broadcasting, really." And he goes, "Well, there's free beer involved." I was like, "Sure, I'll be more than happy."
Sign me up.
Yeah, sign me up. I'll do that. And what I thought was just going to be, just one weekend or maybe just, a couple of games. Well, that was 2008. I'm about to do my 12th season of roller derby action, and it's been an incredible journey because much like professional wrestling has had its evolution in the last 10 years, the same could be said of roller derby. It has went from just a weekend warrior type of sport where our tribal, we have our own local season, but we also play teams from like Indianapolis and Chicago and Memphis and other places like that. But we've evolved as well to the point that we're just not weekend warriors. I mean, we are an internationally acclaimed roller derby franchise. In fact, we are a member of the Women's Flat Track Derby Association, and out of all the groups, and we're talking about maybe 400 or 500 leagues spread out all over the world, St. Louis can boast that it has the 4th ranked team on the planet right now. I mean, that's the kind of progression that we have had over the last 10 years. So it's been an incredible journey. I've had a lot of fun doing it. And going back to the Jams and Slams event that's coming back this Saturday, in putting together, a promotional campaign for ourselves this year, you're always looking for new events and new ways to gain new audiences and then to engage the audiences that you already have. Well, you go back and you look at the history of professional wrestling and roller derby, and when you really look at it in the lens of how they've both progressed in the broadcast industry, with the advent of television, you think about the black and white, footage of aired of roller derby back in the 50s and the 60s, and then you think about the 1970s when it started getting more mainstream coverage, and then in the early 80s, roller derby and professional wrestling was some of the first content that was seen on the early days of ESPN when it was just a part-time
Yes,
channel.
roller derby and bowling. Roller derby and bowling.
Yeah.
I do remember.
Australian rules football was also a lot as well back in those days. But even, in more contemporary times, when you look back in the early 2000s, what was on the Friday nights on the Nashville Network? It was ECW Wrestling and Roller Jam. So those two sports has always been kind of joined at the hip, and we thought, you know what, we ought to do it. We know the people that are involved with Dynamo Pro Wrestling. They know us. We've wanted to work with each other for the longest time, and now we're going to make it happen. So we start things off at 6:30 in the evening. Our tribal roller derby action, a rematch of last year's finale with the Smashinistas, the defending champions, taking on the 5-time champions, the Stunt Devils. That's going to be a fantastic game. And if you haven't watched roller derby anytime recently, this is not a low-scoring sport. We're not talking like 98 to 100. It is not out of the stretch or out of the realm to see at least almost 400 points on a board at the end of the night collectively between both squads. And that's not because there's no defense. It's just that the scoring is at a perpetual pace all throughout the night. You're talking about a 60-minute game. You do the math. That's a lot of points scored in a short amount of time. And then following up, of course, 4 matches from Dynamo Pro Wrestling. Of course, we talked about the women's title match between the Empress of Evil, Reign Victoria, and Haley Shadows. And, of course, the bragging rights matchup with Adrian Surge and Camaro Jackson. And that's a coin flip as far as I'm concerned in that matchup. But actually, if I'm a betting man, I would say Surge Jackson goes either way. I would not be surprised if we have a title switch in the women's main event on Saturday night. So both those matches, I think, are going to be top-notch. And in the other card, there's a lot of rivalries going on as well. We got CJ Shine, the very popular youngster for Dynamo Pro, taking on that sneaky snitch. He's going to make his way to Queenie Park that night. I know he's probably going to try to steal a few wallets while he's there.
Oh, no.
We'll see what happens.
Brian, why? Brian, why did you bring up the snitch? Man, we're not supposed to say that name on the show. Now we got to hear it from Nightmare Jones. Nightmare Jones, just go ahead with your spiel about the snitch. Hurry up because we're short on time. Go ahead.
All I gotta say is that the Snitch has joined the ranks of the best wrestlers, such as Rick Maverick, the Volatile Curtis Wild, and your favorite person, Travis Cook.
Oh my goodness. You know what, Nightmare Jones? That's why sometimes I can't stand you. We actually do have a listener question, and Attila Khan will be joining us in just a matter of moments, guys. I know you've been looking forward to that as well, so hang tight. Intern Timmy, watch those phone lines, man. We got to make sure we keep an eye out for Attila Khan. But I do have a question from a watcher or a listener. See what I did there? Live stream? Whatever. Okay, so our buddy Jay Hollywood wants to know, please, sir, what was that baby face roller derby gal on ESPN, Randy, question mark. I don't know how far back you go into the history of roller derby, man, but who are we talking about here?
You know, I'm gonna have to research on the Wikipedia on that one there. If I was going to guess, it's probably somebody from the LA T-Birds, but I cannot think specifically the last name, and that's going to haunt me for the rest of the night. So I will have to do. I see you're doing maybe a little typing, trying to find out yourself.
You dang right. You dang right we are.
That's well, when you cover 4 decades of roller derby, you know the names are gonna tend to blend together. I'm still thinking of the days of Joni Weston and Ralphie Valaderas myself. So you're going back quite a stretch of history there. But yeah, I tell you what, and that's a cool thing about roller derby. It's like there's a lot of times where we'll see some parallels between wrestling and roller derby, and especially by the critics of both out there.
All right.
I think they're joined at the hip, and they'll say like, what do you do? What you do? And we're like, well, you know what? There is one common thread that coexists between roller derby and professional wrestling, and especially for those that participate in both those sports. It is highly trained professional athletes, mind you, that participate in both these sports, that dedicate numerous hours weekly to dedicate themselves and to become successful in their respective sports. That's the common thread that ties the two together. I think both sides would agree to that answer wholeheartedly. And you think about the time, the sweat energy, or the sweat equity, the energy, the money that is personally invested by those that participate in either of those two trades, it's 5 digits sometimes, if not more. So you think about all that one invests in order to participate. Because, hey, roller derby gear and tickets to travel and hotel rooms, hey, that stuff's not cheap either. We work with a budget. We know how much it takes to go and play at a international competition in Montreal and finish 4th. Or we know what it's like to go to Spain and win a gold medal down there. We know the costs associated with it. Did you find our answer by chance?
No, I'm looking. I swear I'm listening and looking at the same time. I'm doing my job. Jay Hollywood, why do you do this to us every time, man? Come on.
I tell you what, but no, man, I couldn't wait. When we told our league members about jams and slams with Dynamo Pro, I kind of kept it under wraps until we could get all the rights and clearances taken care of. We are playing at a county park, and we are putting a wrestling ring inside a sport court arena. When I told them what we were going to be doing, they were doing cartwheels. They were really excited about it. And I know the folks at Dynamo Pro Wrestling, it's an opportunity for them to gain exposure in front of a newfound audience as well. So really, it's kind of benefiting both us and Dynamo Pro, and that's the reason why we're doing it. And I would like to make this a yearly event. It's the first time that it's ever being done in St. Louis, and just based off of the buzz that we're hearing from both camps and their respective fan bases, they can't wait for this event. And hey, who knows what we'll get as far as attendance goes? I know we'll have a excellent show. Regardless, we want to make this a part of our feature attraction each and every year. So hopefully by this time next year, I'm coming up and talking about the 2nd annual Jams and Slams for both our Tribal and Dynamo Pro.
Well, let me put you at ease, Brian. Let me put you at ease. I know the way that Dynamo Pro does business, and if you're worried about attendance, don't be. The fans travel well because yours truly jumped in his Dodge Ram 1500 recently, within the last year, and drove all the way from Kansas City to St. Louis just to go to a Dynamo Pro show. So if I'm willing to drive 3.5 hours across town, now, is there a White Castle and some, is there a little bit of that? Is that an additional incentive? Yes, it absolutely is. But let me tell you, the reason I went was Dynamo Pro. So if I'm willing to drive that far to go at a Dynamo Pro show, there's no reason that the people of the St. Louis area wouldn't make their way down to the event this upcoming Saturday, not only for just Dynamo Pro, and you guys are getting the best that Dynamo Pro has to offer, you're also going to get an opportunity to be there with my man, Muckety Muck. I mean, you guys do such a great job over there, dude. It's just roller derby and pro wrestling are two peas in a pod, and I know the fans are absolutely going to love it. So don't even worry about it, man. I know people are excited about it. You guys are going to pack that sucker out.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate to have some great crowds this year. Our largest attendance that we've ever had so far is 2,000 people at the Chaffetz Arena. That's where the Slewbillikens play at, and that was a couple of years ago. So we know that the fan base is there to come out and watch roller derby. So to have the added attraction of wrestling be a part of it as well, it's pretty amazing. And I think part of the appeal is, hey, we're your next door neighbors. You know, we're not some franchise that's coming in from out of town taking your cash and split. You know, we're going to stick around because we are the St. Louis community. We are your local community. We're your friends, your neighbors, your next door neighbors, you know, being a part of your community. And we love the fact that we entertain for our community and the fact that we can play at a venue that's all ages friendly, that has free parking, that has cheap beer, that has climate controlled indoors comfort. I mean, you know, these are the things that we think about, and I think it's going to be a first class event, and we can't wait to have it. And of course, what's great about it is we make it very economical for a family of four to go out for the evening. Our cost for tickets for adults, it's $15 at the door, but we do offer discounts online at archrivalrollerderby.com. You can take $3 off your ticket right there. Children 10 and under always get in free. That's a policy that we've had from the get-go. And then we also offer discounts if you buy in group tickets. So if you have a group of 6 or more, you can take $6 off. So there's numerous ways. If you're a student, get this. If you're a student and you just want to get out for the weekend and do something cool, neat, and exciting, $8. Okay? So this is economics 101 when it comes to sports entertainment and professional sports when you think about it. Here in the St. Louis area with both Arch Rival Roller Derby, Dynamo Pro Wrestling, Jams, and Slams. It's the event that people are going to talk about not only to themselves at the end of the night by saying, boy, we made the right decision that night, but then they're going to tell their friends on Monday morning at the water cooler and say, you know what I did this past weekend? I got the best of both worlds. I got to see pro wrestling. I got to see roller derby. I got to see the premier franchises in St. Louis perform at their absolute best. I got my money's worth. Next time they do this, you got to come with me.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And Joe, I want to have you jump in here and say hello in just a second because Attila Khan is in the bullpen ready to fire some strikes. I had one final question. This is totally off the beaten path. And it is this question. And I ask every single person that I meet that is from the St. Louis area. Here's what I'm going to ask you. If I go to St. Louis, where do I need to go for the best toasted wraps? Tell me right now.
Ooh. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. See, that's like asking who your favorite kid is. You know, if you have 5 or 6 children. That sounds like you're being unfair. Anytime you go to the Hill, it does not matter where you go. You could go to Ragazzi's. You can go to about 3 or 4 different places. You will find nothing but the best. So I don't want to give too much credit to one area. I do have my own personal favorites, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a mom and pop place because I like T-Ravs from Emos too. I don't mind giving them a little bit of love. But I say that anywhere authentic on the Hill in St. Louis, the St. Louis Hill neighborhood, you can never go wrong there. Absolutely can't go wrong.
Hey, by the way, Herb Simmons has an opinion on this. He says Bartolinos. Bartolinos. Hey, there you go. That we should have asked that. Her. We should.
That's a good selection right there.
Man, that is so awesome. Joe, any final questions or thoughts for our buddy Brian here, a.k.a. man, coolest nickname ever. I thought my nickname was cool. I'm the Night Owl. That's Night with a K. Muckety Muck. Any final questions, Jonesy?
No, I just had one final question. See, he doesn't just have the nickname Muckety Muck, but he also has the nickname the Grand Poobah. How did you get that nickname?
Jonesy! Good job, Joe.
Okay, I can't answer this one in 30 seconds, okay? So back when, if we rewind the tape about 6-7 minutes and I talk about Dr. X's Wrestling Royale, I actually called some of the matches on there too, because sometimes we would receive tapes from outside the territory and they would just feed the match themselves. It wouldn't have any running commentary. So, you're not just going to put an empty tape on the air. So you had to provide its own commentary. So my friend and myself, we would provide the play-by-play. And sure, we were a little rough around the edges, but I think that kind of brought some authenticity to it. And one day we were just like, well, what are we going to call ourselves? Nobody's going to be interested in our real names. And I was like, well, how about the Grand Poobah? He said, okay, sure, fine, that's no problem. So I went with that name for about 4 years, took the break between Dr. X's Wrestling Royale and Gateway Championship Wrestling, came back as the Grand Poobah for Gateway Championship Wrestling, left GCW in 2004. When I got involved in roller derby in 2008, I originally still stayed with the Grand Poobah. Now, that shouldn't be that big of a deal if I'm playing here in St. Louis. But as I spent my time with roller derby and I started doing more work on an international scale and in front of broader audiences and especially in front of a then new stream service, come to find out that somebody already existed in the world of roller derby as the Grand Poobah.
No.
Yeah, so you're used to talking to everybody and them knowing you, especially in the St. Louis area, as the Grand Poobah, and now to be a nice guy. It's like, you couldn't be King Kong Brody and Bruiser Brody in Indianapolis because you got Dick the Bruiser there, so now you got to go through a name change, right? So I was sitting there struggling, and I come up with so many different names that I could have used, and a lot of them, just about all of them, were really lame. So I had to sit there and really put on my thinking cap. And when I struggle with thought and what to do and what decisions to make, I rely on a veteran skater from Arch Rival Roller Derby, a sweetheart of a human being known as Chublaka.
Chublaka?
Yeah.
That's so good.
Awesome.
Chublaka.
She's retired, but she's one of my favorites of all time. Just salt of the earth. So I had to go to Chewy, and I said, what am I going to do? So what does she do? She goes and looks up the Grand Poobah in the Urban Dictionary, and back comes the definition of Muckety Muck. And she said, this is who you should be. And I was like, I'm sold. And nobody else had the name. Bonus. So then I could go ahead and apply and get that name, and it's stuck ever since. And you know what? It was probably the best decision I ever made. So I didn't mind leaving one moniker behind because it opened up a brand new journey and one that I'm really, really happy and grateful for being a part of.
And here you are on the prestigious Wrestle Talk podcast as Muckety Muck, man. That is so freaking cool.
And I'm between a pair of Hall of Fame legends, too. I'm in the middle meat of the sandwich here. So this is incredible. I mean, this has been one of the best days of broadcasting ever, and I've been so honored to be a part of it and to plug this fantastic event coming up Saturday night, Jams and Slams, Midwest Sport Hockey, Queenie Park, Baldwin, Missouri. Want to find out more? You can go online right now, archrivalrollerderby.com. Up until Friday night, you can buy discounted tickets through archrivalrollerderby.com, and it has our full schedule for the rest of the year. If you can't be with us this Saturday night, we've got a full slate of games that go on until April, and then it's travel team season. We've got to try to grab one of the top 3 medals in the planet. We're going to make that quest starting in May. Hopefully by this time next year, I can tell you, hey, guess what? We got back here with some hardware from the championships. But, hey, that's forever and a day away. We're excited about this Saturday night.
Man, that is absolutely incredible. Joe, I want to have you jump in here and say goodbye, but I want to say this. We absolutely have to have you back for a full-fledged 30 to 45-minute interview like we do with all of our other guests. Muckety Muck, thank you so much, man. All the best to you guys this upcoming Saturday. You guys and Dynamo Pro Wrestling. I want to welcome you in as the newest member of the Wrestle Talk family, man. Before you go, one last thing. Drop the social media. Where can people follow you? And where can people follow Arch Rival Roller Derby?
Okay, we are on Facebook, archrivalrollerderby.com. Also, we are on the Twitter feed Arch Rival STL, and of course we are on the Facebook and on Instagram as well. When you go to archrivalrollerderby.com, it gives the listing of all the events that we're going to be competing at, the matchups, a little bit of news. I write recaps and previews of all the matches that are coming up. We got player personality profiles and all kinds of other stuff. So yeah, it's a great sport. If you've never been a part of it, like Joe said, here's a chance for you to be a part of it this Saturday night. And you know what? As Paul Heyman would once say, that if you're not a fan of arch rival roller derby, you'll become one after you see us this Saturday night.
Jonesy, final thoughts.
Oh, just thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on to the podcast tonight. It has been absolutely amazing. Do not be a stranger. We will have you on again, sir. We promise you.
Hey, I tell you what, I watch wrestling just as much as you guys. I love NXT. I love NWA Power. I would love to come on and just chew the fat with you guys about pro wrestling anytime.
Yes, I'd love that. Absolutely. Let's do it again before the end of the year. How about that?
Sounds good, my friends. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Have a great night, brother. Grace and peace. Adios.
You bet.
Woo!
Man. Great interview. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a Hall of Famer coming on once again. I mean, this gentleman has done it all. Like, he's been wrestling for over 23 years. He's wrestled in Mid-Missouri Wrestling Alliance, World League Wrestling, and Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling. And this is a very, very special interview because this gentleman does not talk very much. He lets his actions do the talking for him. So, ladies and gentlemen...
Whoa. Nightmare Jones, hold your horses. Hold your horses. We got to add a little salsa to those tacos because we're talking about a guy who, in his 23 years in the game, has wrestled for all those promotions. But let's be clear. Flash Flanagan, Ricky Cruz, Gary Jackson, Derek Stone, Ron Powers, Tom Sullivan, all that, Matt Murphy. This guy has left an impression on the world of professional wrestling that will never be forgotten. What's incredible, and you hear Keith Smith talk about it and some of the other guys that come on, the humility has never gone away. When you've had the opportunity to share the locker room with the kind of people that Attila has shared the locker room with, you don't have to remain humble. You can become a little arrogant, but he hasn't. And that's one of the main reasons that he is one of the newest inductees into the Midwest Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and Jonesy's and pleasure to welcome in our third featured guest of the evening? It's absolutely incredible tonight. The one, the only, Attila Khan.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
What an introduction.
It's absolutely amazing to have a person of your caliber on the podcast. How have you been, Attila?
I've been good. Just been really busy and just blessed that this many years into the game that people still want to buy tickets and people keep booking me and I still get to go out there and be a part of this. So I've been good.
So I guess I got to start off. You've been in the professional wrestling business for 23 years.
It's incredible.
When you started professional wrestling, did you think that you would be in the professional wrestling business 23 years later?
Honestly, no, and it's actually be 26 years this year. Started in 1994. I grew up in the St. Louis area. Wrestling at the Chase was such a big deal. Larry Matisick was the soundtrack of my childhood. I was fortunate that Pat O'Connor, the great legend, was a friend of the family. Used to come watch my high school football games. And he would take me to the locker room, and that was where I first met Harley Race, just as a young kid.
Yeah.
And I never dreamed when I started this in 1994 that the next 26 years would be the ride that it's been and the opportunities that I've had and the people that I've met.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You mentioned the one and only Harley Race. Can you tell us about some of your experiences with Harley Race?
I could probably talk for about 2 weeks on those nonstop. But the first time that I met Harley, like I said, Pat O'Connor had taken me backstage at the Checker Dome at the time, and I got to take a picture with Harley Race.
Wow.
And about 10 years after that picture, I started wrestling. And in the late 90s, before World League Wrestling came into existence, there was World Legion. And I got a call. And they said, hey, we want you to come work for WLW and for Harley Race down in Springfield, Missouri. And so we went down and we did a few shows, and that original World Legion went away. And I thought, well, that was it. And I got to know Harley a little bit, and he liked me. He kept booking me. And a couple months later, I got a call from him, and I answered the phone. I hear Harley Race on the other end of it. You know, and it's a voice that you recognize immediately. And he says, hey, I want you to come work for me. I'm going to start World League Wrestling. And so I was actually on the first show that Harley ever promoted as World League Wrestling. And through the years, we established a really close friendship. Him and his wife would stay here at my house with my wife and I when they were in St. Louis, and we would stay at the lake. There was a lot of times Harley would, we'd have, 2 or 3 shows over a weekend, and he'd tell me, hey, I want you to come down Thursday. You're going to stay at the house, and then you'll get up and ride with me to the shows. And I kind of noticed that I was really, at the time, the only one getting to do that. And so a lot of many, many hours in the car with Harley, and, to be able to sit under that learning tree, firsthand. Mm-hmm. And I always say I knew how to wrestle when I went to work for Harley, but I learned the business from Harley Race, during those years. And I mean, he shared a lot of, personal things to me, with me through the years. Taught me so much about so many things. When my daughter was born, he was the first person I called. And my son was real small at the time, and we'd be at the shows, and I'd be in the ring, and my son would be sitting on Harley's lap or beside me. I always felt pretty safe that Harley Race was babysitting my son while I was up doing what I do. And just when Harley passed away this past August, it was tough. It's still tough. I miss him.
Wow, that is. Like, I asked that question, but I didn't expect to have that heartfelt of a answer. Thank
Awesome.
you so much for that heartfelt of an answer. I don't even know what question to ask next. So, Renee, I hate to put you under the bus, but, sir, the floor is yours.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, man? I love the lights. I love the opportunity. And honestly, now I'm even more fired up to talk to Attila than I was before we even got started. And I know we'll talk a lot about the past, but I'm always interested to get the perspective of the guys that have left a legacy in the world of professional wrestling and how they look at the future of the sport. So I'm kind of going to blend the two. And I'm going to ask you about NWA Power, Attila. We see that one of your old colleagues, Trevor Murdoch, is doing some outstanding work down there. I know guys that you shared the ring with, or at least been in the locker room, like Ricky, and you just had so many great opportunities. I know we'll talk about that here in a moment. How exciting is it for you to see a guy like Trevor get the opportunity that maybe he's been looking for his whole career? And I know he had a great run at WWE, former tag champ and all that. But NWA Power is paying respect to your era, and even before that, in a way that we've never seen before. How cool is it for you to see that?
I think it's absolutely awesome. I think the product they're doing is fantastic. I know a lot of those guys. Trevor, Dave Marquez is down there. There's several guys that I know. You know, and Trevor and I go back. Trevor would ride to shows with me before he was old enough to have a driver's license, let alone a wrestling license, a driver's license. And he would ride to the shows. So seeing Trevor and the success and literally being there, and his first matches, we worked together, you know, and seeing the success that Trevor has had and seeing the opportunity that he has now, I could not be happier. I wish him the best. I think it's amazing. And I'll tell you a quick story, kind of piggybacking on the Harley race. A couple weeks ago, I'm sitting in a deer stand. I'm an avid hunter. And I get a text. It's from Trevor. And he's like, "Did you see Power this week?" I said, "I hadn't yet." I said, "I'm going to watch it when I get out of the woods, you know." And he went home with the Indian Deathlock, which was one of Harley Race's moves. And he says, "Tell me what you think when you see it." And I got home, and I see him paying, you know, the respect to Harley, to use one of Harley's finishing moves. And hearing the announcers call it, because what people are seeing now with NWA Power is what I watched when I was young. It's what I broke into the business with, that type of stuff. And it's awesome. And Trevor is, I love him. He's like my family. And I think it's just fantastic that he's getting the opportunity that he has.
Oh man, that is so fantastic. You're right, and I get excited because I got to see Trevor when he opened up his school just a couple of miles from my house here in Kansas City, and then of course through the Metro Pro days. I did want to also ask you, because I know you're a St. Louis guy through and through, top to bottom. Worked most of your career in that area. I wanted to also ask you about guys like Matt Seidel and Delirious. Do you think there's a little bit of an untapped pool of talent out of the St. Louis area? Because you think about names like that, and there's only a handful of them. But there's so many great talents that have done work in the Midwest that maybe haven't gotten that recognition. Do you think that looking into the future, we're going to get more and more of that moving forward? Because I think that the talent pool in the area is something that's a bit underrated, unfortunately.
I agree with you. I think it is. I mean, St. Louis has always been a hotbed for professional wrestling. And, you know, I can remember sitting and drinking cold beer with Harley and some of the other ones, and they talked about, you know, Bob Orton would tell you the same thing. When you got to wrestle in St. Louis, you knew you had made it. That was kind of like, that was when you made it. And the business has changed through the years. And I think a lot of times there's been a lot of talent here that has been overlooked. And you can go back 20 plus years and going forward, there's a lot of guys that are as good as anybody that's ever got in that ring that's from this area. And there's some young kids out there now that are learning the right way. I think you're going to start seeing some real good things come out of the St. Louis area in the future.
Well, in an effort to maybe have you dig maybe even a little bit deeper into that same question, do you keep tabs on what's going on in the area? And is there anybody or maybe 2 or 3 people that have caught your attention that you think might be that next wave of top talent in your area?
Yeah, I do. I keep an eye out. I watch. You know, I follow the social media. I talk to a lot of people. I watch a lot of stuff online.
Okay.
See who's out there. I know we have a couple guys that work for us over at SICW on a regular basis. I think. I mean, they're green. They're greener than AstroTurf, but they're getting there, and I think they got a real nice future. And one of those is Chris Cade. He's a young kid that's coming up, man. He's got a good look, and he's really a throwback to that old school style of wrestling. And I mean, there's an audience for that. There's people that like that. They like to see that. Chris Cage from this area is going to be good. I think Jake Prater. Jake reminds me a lot of when I first started. Is anytime you're in the locker room with Jake, you're going to find Jake sitting where all the veterans are at, and his mouth is closed and his ears are open, and he's wanting to learn. He's wanting to know. Jake's got a real good look. Goes by the Mountain Man, and he's got the woolly hair and the whole. He's got a good look. I think he's gonna do real well.
Dude, that's so fantastic that you took some of your own time where we're recognizing and acknowledging your amazing accomplishments to kind of highlight some of the other guys that are up and coming and that have an opportunity to be extremely successful. Obviously, Attila, you're going into a Hall of Fame with kind of a all-star cast. We've talked about them at least briefly tonight with Chico as Loco, Herb Simmons. Just a few minutes ago, we got the opportunity to talk to John Blackheart. A lot of people are talking about this being maybe the best class of all time for the Midwest Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame. How does it feel to you to be able to go in with guys that have received recognition and praise throughout the business, even before this upcoming Saturday? A lot of these guys have been respected for a long time, and you get to walk in hand with this legendary class, man. How big of an honor is that for you?
It's absolutely amazing. I'm humbled to even to be a part of something like this, and to look at the class that I'm going in with, and to look at the prior inductees. I look through there and you see Keith Smith, and Pete Maddens, and Gary Jackson, and just everybody that's in there. Bill Talley, the Searcher. This guy's a phenomenal talent, and then to be considered, to be able to walk in. Herb Simmons and I go back. Herb was literally there my first day in the business.
Wow.
26 years ago. John Blackheart, same thing. John Blackheart was one of the guys that trained me when I started at South Broadway in 1994. There was, him and Keith Smith, Frankie D, Pete Madden, Danny Boy, Johnny Jet, Keith. That's who trained me. And, to have the opportunity to learn from those guys, and, now to be recognized, to be considered, with these guys, it just, it's hard to believe. It's a great honor. Even if Blackheart and I almost caused a riot and broke it, that's a whole other story.
That's a common thread with him, by the way, because him and Keith Smith, who Keith Smith called in during that interview, and they said they kicked the crap out of each other probably for about a year straight. So it looks like that's a common thread with our buddy John Blackheart.
I tell you, John was amazing at what he did. We were working. It was the main event. It was for the belt. I'd just been out of the Marine Corps not very long, and there was a bunch of Marines in the audience that come to see the drill instructor at the time. And the go home, the Magic Man was Blackheart's manager. Shoots a fireball in my face. John rolls me up, pins me 1, 2, 3. Then they put the boots to me. And all of a sudden I noticed that the Magic Man was no longer kicking me. Well, they get me upstairs because of the fireball in my face. What I didn't know is when Blackheart and Magic had done this, the Marines didn't want me to lose. So they jumped in the ring and snatched Magic Man out. And they had all the Marines outside in handcuffs because they had arrested him for jumping in the ring. And that was with Blackheart. I was like, man, you're going to get us killed out here. So John is phenomenal.
Absolutely legendary stuff. Jonesy, it's your time, brother. You got any questions or comments or anything else you wanted to throw out at one of the newest inductees into the Midwest Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame, the one and only Attila Khan?
I do, and this is probably a very, very tough question, but in all of your years, who would you say has been one of your most toughest competitors that you faced in the ring?
Oh, wow. There's been a few. And I'll say the toughest of the last. Just to, I've been in the ring with Tommy Dreamer. I've been in the ring with Attila the Butcher, Bob Orton, the Harris Twins, locally Ron Powers and Ricky Cruz. Man, they're tough as they get. But I would say, in my career, the toughest, strongest person I've ever been in the ring with is Haku. And was his opponent many times through the years working for Harley Race. And I'll tell you, that's a whole different beast right there when you're in the ring with that man.
You've been in the ring with Haku? Haku, like there was stories about Haku and going to bars and basically almost killing men. You've been in the that is some story about Haku.
I'm starting to question Attila Khan's mental stability. Because I know you yourself, in your own right, you've been known to kind of take it over the edge a little bit. So the match between you and Haku doesn't actually surprise me all that much. It doesn't surprise me.
I tell you what, working with Haku, I'm not a small man by any means, and to get into the ring, he's the first individual that I've ever had that could grab me, pick me up, put me over his head, and make me feel like I'm about a 2-year-old kid. The strength and the power that comes from Haku it's off the chart. He was coming in working for Harley at the time that I was the WLW champion. So I ended up standing across the ring from the Big Tongan many nights in a row for a long, long time. And I can tell you like I said, I've been in there with Abdul the Butcher, I've been in there with Tommy Dreamer, I've been in there with some of the greatest. But you step in the ring with Haku, you better have your stuff together. He can do whatever he wants to do to you. I can tell you that.
That sounds so serious. That sounds so serious. What else you got, Jonesy?
Well, that's really...
Jonesy, I didn't mean to shock you on that.
Yeah, he don't know what to do now. You know what? I have an idea. Let's continue. Well, go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Renee, do you have any final questions before we go to the game show challenge?
I do have one. I do. It's actually kind of a two-parter, and thank you for giving me the opportunity, Joe. So, part one is, after all these years, after 25 plus years in the game, Attila, I'm sure somewhere along the way you kind of had that moment. And that moment to me is like you're sitting in the locker room and you're like, wow, I cannot believe I'm sitting in the locker room with these guys. Or in some cases, it's even a match. Like, yo, I can't believe, because I had a buddy of ours came on. He was like, yo, I got an opportunity to wrestle alongside Ricky Morton. Like, it was something that he never thought would happen. He got an opportunity to tag with one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time. When you go back over the 26-year span of your career, can you recall that moment? And if so, who was it with?
Yeah, I was, there was a few different times, that were firsts in my career, the first big names that you're in there with. First time working for the WWF at the time, and being taken around the locker room by Haku and letting everybody know that I'm with him, so treat me good. And they did. And the thing about championships in wrestling, people can say what they want about what the belts mean. That's fine. But the bottom line is, with the championship, that promoter trusts you to be the face of that organization. that you're the guy. And I would say one of those moments for me was the night that Harley Race decided I was going to be the champion. And
wow,
to know that I was going to carry the belt for Harley Race, you know, arguably the greatest that's ever done it. Trust me to wear the belt with his name on it. That moment right there is one I'll never forget.
What an absolutely incredible honor. And let me tell you, the feedback that we're getting, our buddy Bill Talley, acknowledging your ability to lead a locker room, which is a huge amount of respect. Mauler McDarby, one of the greatest locker room leaders and in-ring leaders that I've ever seen. Sadie Blaze, a.k.a. Makaze,
wow.
giving you the respect that you so rightfully deserve. I mean, when you see this lineup of incredible, well-respected talent jump on and take time out of their evening to, like we've been saying all night, just kind of give you your flowers while you're still here to smell them, man. What does that mean to you, man? How exciting is it to know that not only were you respected by the fans that paid the price to see you in action, but also by all the other guys in the locker room who shared that space with you, which we know in a lot of cases is almost like sacred ground.
I tell you what, it chokes me up, to be honest. Those guys are too kind. I'm just so happy to be a part of it, and to hopefully have left this business better than when I found it. Have done something, and to hear the kind words by the boys in the back. You know, nobody succeeds in pro wrestling by themselves. You know, nobody, maybe except for Pete Mann, because that guy could wrestle the Invisible Man, have a match at the time. But
former guest, we love Pete. Great guy.
Right. Everybody that gets in that ring has to have a dance partner. They got to have a partner. They got to have an opponent. And so nobody ever does this on their own. And to hear compliments and the things that's said by some of the best there is, you know, that list of names, it's just an absolute honor for them to say those things. I thank them.
Absolutely incredible. Well, you know what? It's been a retrospective night, and let's be frank, guys. We've been a little bit mushier than most of us usually are because Attila, you're usually stabbing people in the head with a fork. So let's just... And by the way, people are talking about dream matches. I saw a comment just a second ago about, what did it say? It said, dream match, Attila Khan versus... And I'm telling you, people still want to see you do your thing, brother. Okay, Damian Damian Blade versus Attila Khan. Dream match. Somebody's got to make it happen. And it's already got a ton of thumbs up. So we'll just throw that out there and let everybody marinate on that. Because you never know, right?
Right. You never know who could end up on the other end of that fork.
Yeah, exactly. So be careful what you wish for, Bill. Careful what you wish for. But you know what we're going to do? We're not going to be able to give you that match here tonight. But what we are going to be able to do is bring out the fighting spirit and the competitive fire of Attila Khan in tonight's edition of the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. And I'm almost afraid to issue this challenge, but Attila Khan, will you go one-on-one with me, the Night Owl? It's a Night Owl with a K. Get it right. The Night Owl in tonight's edition of the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge.
I've never backed down from anybody.
Ooh.
Oh, hey! Let's do it, baby!
Intro, Timmy? Hit that music. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. Tonight's battle is scheduled for the best 2 out of 3 falls. Tonight's contestants are tonight out Renee Marquez and Attila Khan. In a few moments, I'll be asking you 3 questions about a particular professional wrestling topic. When you think you know the answer, just shout out your answer. The first person to win 2 out of 3 falls will win tonight's Game Show Challenge. In honor of our association with the Midwest Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame, tonight's Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge is entitled Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, The Announcers. Since Intern Timmy heard that the Night Owl wants to be challenged in tonight's Game Show Challenge, all tonight's answers will be professional wrestling announcers in the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame in Wichita Falls, Texas. Remember, the first person to win 2 falls will win tonight's Game Show Challenge. For example, if I were to say, in 2016, this announcer was enshrined in the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Larry Matisick.
Nearly 50. No. Of nearly 50 years. He was announcer in the AWA from 1970 to 1984, WWF from 1984 to 1993, and WCW from 1993 to 2001. But let me tell you something, Mean Gene.
Mean Gene Oakland.
Mean Gene Oakland is the answer. Attila would have gotten your point. Now that you gentlemen know how the podcast challenge is going to go, are you gentlemen ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Night Owl, you ready? All right. Question number 1. In 2004, this professional wrestling announcer was the first announcer to be enshrined in the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. He was in the Gordon Soley is correct.
Come on.
Attila Khan had gotten first point of the contest. I think you're in trouble, Renee. All right.
Don't call it a comeback. Don't you call it a comeback. I still got a chance. Let's go.
Question number 2. This late professional wrestling announcer was enshrined in the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. He was an accomplished professional wrestler and a manager in the AWA and the WWF with his... Bobby Heenan is correct.
Come on!
I believe that's 2 out of 3, right?
Yes. Yes.
So this is... Renee has already lost, but we're going to see if Attila Khan can sweep.
Let me tell you something. I'd rather get a fork in the eyeball than get swept. So I'm telling you right now, Sadie Blaze, everybody out here laughing at me, here comes my vengeance. I will not be swept. I guarantee it.
Question number 3. In 2012, this manager and announcer was enshrined in the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. He has been to such promotions as WCW, Jim Crockett Promotions, World Championship
The Fink.
Wrestling, and the WWF.
The Fink.
No.
Jim Cornette.
Jim Cornette is correct. Attila Khan has swept the Night Owl. So here is your music for winning the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge.
All I do is win, no matter what.
Why? Why? This is not right. I did my best.
Oh my goodness.
And they sit there.
Don't worry, Renee.
Listen.
Don't worry, Renee. We still...
What?
Here is music, Renee.
Really? I get the crybaby music? I get the depressing, sad music? Are you serious? Right now, I had a chance. I had a chance to make history against the legend Attila Khan, and I was screwed. I want to recount. This feels like Florida all over again. It's not right. It ain't right, I tell you. My goodness. Whatever, man. Whatever. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. nothing makes me happier than to take an L to a guy that knows what it means to love the sport of professional wrestling. Attila, thank you for all your sacrifices, your commitment over the last 25 plus years to the sport. We know you've got a lot of unfinished business, a lot that you're still going to contribute to the world of professional wrestling. And for that reason, we thank you. And we want to ask you to please welcome yourself in as the newest member of the Wrestle Talk family. And also, let us know where people can keep up with you on social media, brother.
All right. Hey, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on here. Such an honor. I had a great time. Following Attila on social media, on Facebook, is the Attila Khan. Look for that. And that's the main place you'll see everything that comes up, what we got coming up in the future. May 2nd, SICW, we got a great big show coming up in Belleville. Haku's going to be there. Sergeant Slaughter's going to be there.
What?
Kevin Nash is going to be there. Yeah.
Incredible.
So we got to, you'll see, if you go to the Attila Khan, ATTILAKHAN on Facebook, you'll see everything that's coming up, anywhere that you'll be able to catch up with me, watching me brutalize whoever steps in there with me. So I feel like I still got quite a bit of gas in the tank, so I'm ready to keep going.
He's going into the Hall of Fame, and he's still active, Nightmare Jones. He's still active in the game. I tip my cap to you, sir. Thank you so much. Jonesy, any final thoughts or questions for the Hall of Famer, Attila Khan?
Oh, man, just thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on to the podcast. I know that you are not a gentleman that talks very much. You do all of your actions inside of the wrestling ring. I would not get into the wrestling ring with you. Renee might, but I would not.
What are you talking about? You think I'm out of my mind? No way. Hey, I'm crazy, not stupid, brother. Crazy, not stupid. All that said, Attila, thank you so much for joining us for episode 283 of the Wrestle Talk podcast. It was both an honor and a pleasure, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. I sure appreciate it. Hope to see you soon.
Grace and peace, brother. Adios.
All right, Renee, I have one question for you, and it's not professional wrestling. This is something that was brought up to me while I was at work the other day. I had a guy that told me that for the right amount of money, he would take a punch from Mike Tyson in the 90s. Would you take a punch from Mike Tyson in the 90s for the right amount of money?
All right, well, when you what year? What year are we talking about here?
The 90s, like at the peak of his career, when he was knocking out guys left and right, and that era of Mike Tyson.
Nightmare Jones, if you're talking about 1992, then I was 7. Okay,
Yeah.
If you're talking about if you were talking about 1998, then how old was I?
Well, I'm talking about if you were the age now that you were in 1990. If in 1992 you were the age that you are now, would you take a punch from Mike Tyson?
So would 35-year-old Night Owl take a punch from prime Mike Tyson for how much money?
For the right amount of money.
What's the right amount? What's the right amount?
You tell me what the right amount of money is.
I would absolutely. Okay, so here's another question. Glove or no glove?
Glove. Definitely glove. Because no glove, he'd probably kill you.
Exactly. So, I would absolutely take a right hook from Mike Tyson, prime Mike Tyson. Do I get to put my guard up or no? Or do I just have to take it, like, no protection?
You don't get to put your guard up. You just got to put your hands down and just take it.
So the probability of me having a concussion and getting CTE are extremely high. The hospital bill for that is probably going to eclipse somewhere around $2 million. So I got to think about my own health. Then I'm trying to set my family in a position where they never have to worry about money again. That's a wife, 3 kids, and a dog. So 10 million? 15 million? Yes. So for $15 million, the Night Owl would allow himself to be absolutely destroyed and potentially end up mentally retarded only for the sake of my family. Because if that were to happen, I wouldn't be the same person ever again. So $15 million, yes, I would have taken a right hook with Mike Tyson with a glove, no blocking, to set my family up for life. That's me. That's my opinion. But, that's me trying to be as unselfish as possible. That's a really random question. I don't even know where that came from. But you know what, Nightmare Jones? Anytime you got any random questions for me, bro, it's real easy. All you got to do is head over to WrestleTalkPodcast.com. Hit us up on our social media. Hit us up on the email. Hey, you can even call us during the show. It's real easy to do. Another incredible edition of the show. 283 is going down in the history books as one of my favorite shows of all time. And guess what, guys? We're going to pick a winner for the 2 tickets that we are giving away this week to Enchantment in the Ring. And guess what? We've still got a best of 1 through 14 WrestleMania VHS to give away. We've also got a TNA Knockouts signature autograph card booklet. So there's like 3 of them in here. You're going to at least get one autograph. This was issued and put out back in 2009 when TNA first got started. And then we have this 1984 LJN Nikolai Volkov action figure, which from what I understand is worth close to $80 today. We're going to go ahead and make that announcement. Make sure you guys do me a favor, though. If you want to win, you got to go over and give King Cade a like. That's King Cade at the Oak Park Mall. They've got all the best vintage collectible toys that you've ever seen, including all your favorite Batman, Mega Man, Super Mario, Ninja Turtles, and professional wrestling stuff that you could ever ask for. Again, go over to King Cade on Facebook. Give them a like and tell them the Wrestle Talk podcast sent you. That said, guys, that brings us to the conclusion of episode 283. I am the Night Owl. He is Nightmare Jones. And we will catch you guys next week right here at WrestleTalkPodcast.com. Do not forget to share this broadcast. Grace and peace, everybody. Adios.
There's one thing I've always done, is that I've always remained to stay who I am. I am
E.T. Facebook family, thank you for being here. The show's just about over right now. I just want to thank everybody who commented tonight, everybody who messaged us, everybody who called in, all the wonderful guests. We love you, FWWC. We'll be back in action in 2 weeks. I cannot wait to talk to the members of the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion, the FWWC. Everybody have a good night. And remember, we'll be back right here on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. 24/7 at WrestleTalkPodcast.com. We ain't hard to find. You heard me. Peace.